Welcome to Unfiltered and Unstoppable with Romesburg. Real strategies for real advisors, a podcast that dives into what it takes to scale a thriving financial practice. Each week, we'll discuss actionable strategies, tools, and insights to keep you ahead in today's financial landscape. From innovative products and powerful marketing tactics, you'll get unfiltered truth and unstoppable strategies. Let's get started by building your unstoppable financial practice today.
All right. Welcome back to Unfiltered and Unstoppable. I am your host, Rob Romesburg, and today we are diving into one of the most overlooked, undervalued, and under-optimized parts of an advisor's business. This would be your onboarding experience. And quite simply, everything that happens after a prospect becomes a customer, becomes a client, becomes an advocate, and so on. Because here's the truth that many of us may never want to admit. Um, you don't lose clients simply because of performance. You don't lose clients because of the product. Um, Quite simply, you lose them because of the overall experience. The overall experience. Because with all of us, we all remember how someone made us feel, and that's the same thing for your clients. They remember how you made them feel, not necessarily how much growth you provided them or how much loss that they experienced. And the sad reality of all of this is that most of the advisors that I see that pour in so much energy into prospecting, into seminars, webinars, referrals, marketing, and then all of a sudden, the moment that someone goes from a prospect to a customer to a client, all of a sudden, for some reason, that intensity drops, and it drops drastically. It drops from a 10 to a 3. And the thing that we're talking about today is not paperwork. We're talking about onboarding. And there's some confusion out there in regards to paperwork is onboarding and onboarding is paperwork. That's not the case. And we're going to go through that in greater detail today. Because paperwork doesn't create loyalty, right? It doesn't spark referrals. It doesn't build trust. It definitely doesn't deepen relationship. But when you really nail, like you hit it out of the park with your onboarding experience, immediately you're going to see your referrals increase right out of the gate. I promise you, your retention, your client retention will increase. Your clients are going to become raving fans. We are in a social media world right now. There is nothing more important than a fan raving about you via social media. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see your growth go through the roof. And that's what we want to really discover today. Um, because onboarding, a strong onboarding experience is onboarding, period, is the first impression of what it feels like to be able to work with you for the long term. So if your onboarding experience that you provided was lukewarm, guess what? I should probably expect a lukewarm relationship with you. But if it was very involved and your communication was great and your team members were fantastic, I'm going to know that, man, did I make a right decision here? I'll know that right out of the gate. And that's why your referrals will go through the roof. So I have, in over 20 years of doing this, I have seen advisors that believe that onboarding is the ACAT forms. Um, Onboarding is a welcome email. That is part of it. A review 12 months later. That's part of it, but that's not onboarding. The elite advisors that I work with, I'm talking about the top 1%, they take on they understand onboarding so much more differently. They understand the vital importance of the onboarding experience, and they love it. That they love that part of it more than the prospecting part of it. Those individuals, those firms, the onboarding experience is quite literally a choreographed client experience. There's no confusion at what step something needs to happen. It's very much a psychological journey. It is something to where they understand that this is a trust building runway, and it's all about building momentum. It's a sequence to build momentum, and it definitely does not end once the money transfers. In fact, I would argue that it starts there, as a matter of fact. So today we're going to break down how to create an onboarding experience that just wows, and and how to stay connected long after the client says yes. So let's dive in. We gotta really start with the mind shift. Excuse me, a mindset shift. The reason why is because some of you may have that mindset of, well, I have them as a newsletter. That's not enough. Once again, onboarding isn't administrative. Onboarding is 100% emotional. So when a prospect becomes a client, th- technically they're not relieved. More than anything, they actually might become more nervous. They're thinking to themselves, um, did I make the right decision? Did I move too fast? Did I not meet with enough advisors? Did I not do my homework? Can I trust this person, this firm with my life savings? And then they also might be thinking, "Wow, what's supposed to happen next? I'm not even sure." And e- even if they love you, they're still going to have uncertainty. And uncertainty kills momentum. Uncertainty kills momentum. And you don't want that. Onboarding is actually simple. The purpose of onboarding is actually very simple. You want to remove uncertainty. You want to take uncertainty totally out of the equation. You want to replace it with confidence. You want to take doubt, you want to eliminate doubt. You want to replace doubt with clarity, and you want to turn anxiety into excitement. Once again, you want to talk about referrals? This is how we do it. And you've got to do this all through a designed experience. Not a random sequence of tasks of, oh man, I forgot, and oh, we should do this. Hey, what if we did that? That's not what we're talking about today. So let's talk about the psychology, the psychology goals for onboarding a prospect into a customer, into a client. First of all, there's got to be reassurance, right? They need confirmation that they made the right decision. There's got to be confirmation there that they made the right decision. Otherwise, guess what? That's where buyer's remorse comes into play. That's a real thing. That's where free looks come into play. That's where the other advisor chirps back in and they're like, "You know what? You're right. I didn't feel good about this to begin with." So we got to make sure there's reassurance. We got to make sure there's clarity. They need to know exactly what's happening next. They need to know what's happening next by who and when. That's clarity. And then finally, connection. They need to feel like more than just an account, more than just a number, right? They need to feel like I've just established a brand new relationship here. If you accomplish those three things, promise you, you've just locked in a client for life. And more importantly, you're going to convert them into an advocate. And that's really what we want. And here's the thing, if you don't do those things, I promise you that you will create a space for doubt, confusion, hesitation, and then even disengagement. Once again, this is when you lose the business. And how you lose the business is because your onboarding experience wasn't designed to keep your new client engaged. So let's build this wow onboarding experience. So we're going to break down several essentials, several essential elements of the onboarding experience that wows. First of all, the yes moment. So, got to first of all let's celebrate this decision. From the second they say yes, you want to make sure we reaffirm and we anchor that moment with emotion. So right out of the gate, they're going to get a welcome video. They're going to get a personalized handwritten thank you message and then a quick recap of what they can expect next. Once again, they need to know what the next steps are. This is where we're establishing the relationship, not the paperwork part of it. This right here is where we establish the relationship. Within 24 hours, we're going to provide great certainty and great direction. That's going to include the timeline of the real onboarding process. You're going to communicate who handles what within the firm, communicate what documents are needed, and then more importantly, when they're going to hear from you, the advisor again. Once again, building confidence, right? Within the first 7 days, so we just talked about the 24 hours, the next 7 days, we need to continue to establish that trust. This first week is really what sets the tone for the relationship. So, some of the touch points that you should use, first of all, a welcome call. This could be from the staff, a follow up email, a physical welcome kit, and then a scheduled get organized meeting. So I'm sure many of you have heard this. People don't remember what they say, what you've said. They remember how you made them feel, but they also remember how intentional you are. Therefore, how you made them feel. That's establishing a real relationship, right? So now let's get into the first 30 days. Show progress early. So in the first 30 days, you want to make sure that they see motion. So you're going to send weekly progress, excuse me, send weekly progress updates. So, for example, your transfer is in process. Your retirement plan is ready. Your income strategy is underway. Progress equals peace of mind. If you're not sure of your own progress, guess who else? Who else isn't sure of the progress? Guess who else is confused? If you're not communicating, they're sitting there wondering, what did I do? Should I have done this? Here's your magic multiplier with all of this. So the rule is your new client especially should never have to ask what's happening. They should always be told or guided before they even wonder what's happening. So a very simple, easy to use cadence is weekly touch points for the first month, bi-weekly touch points for the next 2 months after that, and then make sure they have monthly touch points like your newsletters, including your annual reviews. Definitely automate all of that, but just make sure it's personal, right? So you want to make sure you celebrate wins. And what I mean by that is, so even though we have all of the onboarding that has taken place, you want to make sure that the great experience, the win that we experienced, and you want to celebrate that to the point to where the client's like, man, was this worth it? So what are some wins? Some examples would be uh, finding a tax mistake or an opportunity to save them money on taxes. Um, Pointing out, oh my gosh, you're paying these fees and you don't need to be paying these fees. Updating beneficiary forms. My gosh, what a simple, overlooked opportunity for real wins. I I just experienced something to where my father passed away. He passed away 5 years ago, and just last year we were notified there was outstanding life insurance. And guess what? The beneficiary on his life insurance was to his ex-wife. Beneficiary reviews, do them, do them. Organizing scattered accounts. So quick wins like these creates trust that lasts forever. Be proud of these wins. Own these wins. And make sure to make it very clear to the client how excited you are that you and your firm were able to find these solutions. I'm not saying rub it in their face. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is make clear that, man, we are so glad that we found that opportunity. We got to make sure that we continue to keep a focus on that. And we'll continue to look for other opportunities as our relationship progresses here. So within 90 days, your client should understand their plan clearly. They should feel very informed. They should know your process as well as you know your own process. And they definitely, without a doubt, should trust your expertise. And finally, and most importantly, they should believe that they made the best decision. They should totally feel so secure with the decision that they made. And once again, this is when these clients become advocates. An advocate is someone that loves to refer to you. An advocate just can't wait to speak about you to all of their family, to all of their friends, to all of their coworkers. And I get it. All of this sounds great in theory. So let me show you exactly. Let me give you some examples here. So some real world examples of good onboarding versus great onboarding. So I'm going to give you example number one. An advisor that I came across. This is the good, not great experience. So this advisor was very talented, very talented advisor, very smart, very intelligent. His clients liked him. His onboarding was, I'm just going to say it, weak. So the client got a thank you for becoming a client. The client received a stack of forms, and his client received a review meeting a year later. This isn't bad. These are things you should be doing. 100% should be doing these, but nothing memorable. So I was actually at one of his client appreciation events, and one of the things I like to do is I like to speak with the clients and how did you meet? How did you find them? And what was your most memorable experience? And I like to really communicate with the clients and find out from their perspective why they became a client. So this was at his client appreciation event, and I was having a conversation with the client, and she said, we liked him, but after we signed, we didn't really hear from him for weeks, and we weren't really sure what was supposed to happen next. And we communicated that with them actually, and they weren't upset, and they weren't angry. They just weren't impressed. You know what I'm saying? They just weren't impressed. Me personally, that's not the experience that I would want to deliver. And guess what? Unimpressed clients, guess what they don't do? They don't refer. They don't advocate, and they definitely don't stay emotionally connected. And you'll be shocked to hear that this advisor plateaued. Okay, almost 5 years. We had to rework the onboarding process because I was certain that that was a great hole. And thankfully, we've seen some great success here over the last year. Now, let me show you the opposite here. So, this is advisor number two, and this is what I will call the wow experience. This advisor, she has built one of the most intentional onboarding processes that I've ever seen. So, when a prospect becomes a customer, She quickly wants to turn them into a client. What is a customer? Customer is someone that buys something. The client is someone that brings over all of their business. So when a prospect becomes a client, they immediately receive right out of the gate a welcome video. They receive a physical welcome package, a 30-day roadmap. They are getting weekly progress updates, and then they'll get a check-in call from the care bearer in the office, and then they'll get their quick wins within 10 days. That quick win, once again, is, hey, you know what? We talked about the beneficiary review. I wanted to make sure that you knew we got all of those beneficiaries changed for you, Rebecca, and all of your beneficiaries are updated now. So you can rest assured, Rebecca, that everything's taken care of there. That's a quick win. And then the client would even receive a handwritten note that says, hey, thank you so much for trusting me with your future. My job actually starts today. That is awesome. I absolutely love that thank you note. That right there, when you say my job actually starts today, wow. You want to talk about reassurance? You want to talk about the client sitting there going, "Man, did I make a right decision or what?" That's what I'm talking about. The fire and the excitement to throw all of that anxiety out of the window. Uh, she told me recently that at one of her 90-day client reviews, that one of her clients said, "You know, what's crazy is the day that all my accounts transferred over, that was the first day that I felt like somebody truly understood my retirement." So, what I'm talking about right there, that is what I would say is onboarding done right. And this advisor, she averages over 40 referrals per year. That's a huge number. And when I say 40 referrals, I mean real referrals. I mean individuals that are moving assets over. These individuals are closed before they step in her office. I promise you. This is not a, oh my gosh, I've got to meet with Barbara. It is not one of the, it is a appointment that she's extremely excited for because she knows that she has taken a prospect to a customer, to a client, to an advocate. And when they become an advocate, and they are referring folks to you, these are people that your advocates want to be a part of the firm. They are proud to make sure that they are affiliated with your firm. And she doesn't get these referrals because she's the best salesperson. She gets them because she delivers an unforgettable experience from start to finish. So, after they become a client, how do we turn them into an advocate? Once again, the onboarding part of it doesn't end after those transfers are complete, after the accounts are transferred over. This is where we really need to evolve and focus and be intentional with the long-term relationship strategy. Because elite advisors understand something that average advisors miss. Clients don't stay because of the asset allocation, they stay because of communication. Same thing with referrals. So once your clients are on board, your job needs to shift from impressing them to making sure that they are deeply, deeply connected. So, how do you do that? Here's how my top advisors make sure their clients are staying connected after they become clients. So, first of all, monthly newsletters. If you aren't doing this right now, come on, man, let's get to it. Let's go right now. Let's get your monthly newsletters moving. That this is your most consistent touch point, and really, it should be hands free. There are so many newsletters options out there right now to take advantage of. It's one of the most simple and the most scalable tools that your clients can experience. However, it can't be just some generic junk newsletter. It needs to include things like definitely a market perspective for sure. What you're watching for as an advisor, there needs to be a section about that. Definitely a financial tip or a financial resource, some sort of life planning spotlight. So, estate planning, tax planning, retirement lifestyle. Definitely making sure you're including any of your upcoming events, and then a link to your most recent podcast or video. If you're not doing podcast or videos right now, do it. And overall, your newsletters are going to remind your clients that, hey, I'm here. I'm thinking about you. I'm bringing you value every single month. Come to me with your concerns. Come to me with your questions. Come to me when the market drops. You don't want them going someplace else. Here are some things that you could be doing quarterly. So this is definitely continued education that builds trust. So these aren't just updates. These are really what could be called your relationship accelerators. So these can be your short video briefings, tax or market insights. Once again, we're doing these quarterly. Um, Making sure that you have like white papers, planning checklists. So here's the thing with your quarterly updates, your quarterly value drops. These should be value, not noise. Not clearly. I could tell it's your quarterly update, and you're just going through this, and you're reading through the script, and you're just trying to get it done for the court. No, when they watch this, they should watch your quarterly value update, and they should think, man, is my advisor proactive or what? Man, my advisor is really paying attention. You know what? My advisor has my back. Next thing that they should do is, man, I'm going to forward this video to cousin Jimmy. Cousin Jimmy needs to hear this. That's what you want. You want them to be proud of that video. You want them to see that video and go, man, I have so many friends and family that need to see this. And let's make sure that you are providing your clients human touch points that stick. So surprise moments. So small, unexpected gestures that continue to create emotional loyalty. So definitely birthday cards, um, anniversary notes. And when I mean anniversary, I mean obviously wedding anniversaries, things like that, but also an anniversary note of when they became a client. That is such a cool thing to receive. That immediately shows them that you are proud to call them a client. Housewarming gifts. Hey, I saw this and I thought of you. You're mailing it to them. Definitely celebrate promotions, celebrate retirements, any sort of big milestone like that. Once again, making sure that they truly understand that they weren't just a transaction, but reminders that you notice them, you care about them, and you are just so glad that they are a part of your firm. And you want to make sure that you're doing client events, at least 4 per year, because your community creates connection, right? And I don't care if they're even virtual. During the coronavirus, there was all kinds of virtual events going on. Still do those. Definitely have them in person because they will deepen trust in such a way that's unmanageable. So we're talking wine nights, um, or client appreciation events, obviously, Medicare workshops, economic updates, trivia nights, educational sessions. Once again, your clients are going to remember the experiences that happen outside the office. And then let's talk about annual reviews. You want to make sure that you have annual reviews that actually matter. So that this isn't a performance meeting. This is a planning meeting. Your annual reviews need to focus on life updates, tax strategy reviews, retirement income alignment, because life changes. What we put in place 5 years ago might not meet your retirement plan today because life changes, right? Divorce, new marriages, death, um, estate planning checks, any new goals, and making sure that we always are staying on task with the progress towards their vision. Once again, your clients need to leave the annual review. Man, does my advisor ever see the full picture of my life? And one of the most impactful, powerful, and maybe even most overlooked touch points are something that I might call a pulse check. And this is where you can win your clients for life. If you haven't already, this is definitely where you will. So your pulse checks, you need to make sure that first of all they're personal, they are relationship driven, no pressure, and completely unexpected. So instead of the generic phone call of "Hey Betty, I'm just checking in," you want to make it very very personal. "Hey Betty, how's Jim and John doing? I know that you said that Jim just went away to college and John's getting ready to graduate. Hey Jim, how's the new cabin coming along? I haven't heard anything about it for a while. I was just talking to my wife over the weekend, and we were thinking about you, and I'm so excited to hear it. I know you said you're going to invite me out there. I'm still waiting on that invite. Updates on grandbabies, man. Do grandparents love talking about their grandkids, especially a new grandbaby? Calling about the college. Did your son choose to go to K State, or did they choose to go to KU? How's your retirement treating you so far? Man, you better be fishing 4 days a week like you told me. You better be on that golf course 5 days a week. You told me for years you couldn't wait to golf. You better be out there 5 days a week. I promise you. Hey, you know what, Jim and Betty, I just wanted to make sure that you're feeling good about everything. Anything on your mind? All of those touch points, random, out of the blue, provide connection. They show that you truly care. You are creating emotional loyalty right there. Your clients will remember who check in on them without being asked. And they remember who checks in on their life, not just their money. So your the pulse checks aren't about business, right? It's about belonging. It's about being a part of a community. Well, so let's put it all into practice. So we've talked about strategy, talked about psychology, we've given some real world examples. So let's break it down into a three-step implementation that you could start using immediately. Because obviously, information without execution doesn't move your practice forward. Um, Implementation does. So let's create the journey, not the checklist here. So before you change anything in your onboarding process, you need to step back and ask yourself, what should it feel like when a client works with me? What do I want to feel like if I work with someone new? You don't want it to be what steps do they need to take, what paperwork needs to be signed, what meetings need to get scheduled. It needs to be more about what emotions should they be feeling at each stage. Where should they feel clarity? Where should they feel momentum? Where should they feel reassured? And where should they feel, man, did I choose the right advisor? So we're not designing this around tasks, we're designing them around experiences. You want to map out your entire journey for your client. So the moment they say yes, the first 24 hours, the first 7 days, the first 30 days, the first 90 days, the first year, then ask yourself, where are their gaps? Where are there moments we could elevate this thing? Where are the opportunities to be able to surprise and delight my clients? When you design a real experience, that's where you create a brand, not your logo, not your sign. This is where you create a brand right here. When you skip the design of this and making sure it's fully implemented, that's when you're going to create confusion. Make sure you automate the process because here's the thing, consistency builds trust. After you design this experience, your next goal is to make sure it's scalable because your world class onboarding experience won't work if it feels inconsistent. The simple rule is to document once, automate second, delegate third. Very, very simple rule. Automation, don't worry, automation's not going to replace personalization. It's going to actually quite literally support personalization. So you're going to automate the things like your appointment reminders, your weekly onboarding updates, your welcome emails, your document requests, your follow ups, your transfer status notifications, your post review summaries. You're going to automate all of that. The reason why is because, first of all, make sure that none of your clients fall through the cracks. And I don't care if you're onboarding 2 or 20 clients a month, you're going to make sure that they all get the same high level experience. It's going to free you up to do things like the relationship building, like the pulse checks, like the quick wins, the problem solving, the future planning. Once again, automation creates consistent structure, but you add the human connection. And when you do the two together, that's where you become unstoppable. So make sure you personalize these moments because this is where the magic happens. Personalization is not about grand gestures. It's about the details that show your clients, I see you, I know you, I remember you. These are the moments that your clients tell their friends about. So sending a baby blanket when the grandchild's born, mailing a book about Italy before their anniversary trip, calling in to see how their dad's surgery went, sending champagne when they sell their business. You got to personalize this stuff because that's when emotional loyalty becomes that's when it speaks to the heart, not to the wallet, right? So loyalty is not built in the annual review, it's built in the moments. You don't want your clients to compare you to other advisors because they're going to compare you with the best experience that they've ever had anywhere. So combine your designed experience, your automated consistency, your personal human connection. You're not going to just have happy clients, you're going to have lifelong advocates. So make sure this onboarding experience is not just a formality, it's not just a checklist, it's not just paperwork. This is exactly what makes you different. This is your retention engine. This is your referral machine. This is your brand really in motion. This is your first impression of your entire practice. When you elevate your onboarding experience, everything within your business is going to rise with it. Before we wrap up here, I want to leave you with a challenge, not a suggestion, a challenge. In the next 30 days, improve one stage of your onboarding experience, just one. Maybe adding a welcome video, maybe adding a 30-day timeline, a handwritten note, first 10-day glance, a 90-day onboarding review, automated check-in sequence. Choose one of those, but own it, implement it. Client, as we said earlier, clients rarely remember the entire process, but they're always going to remember how you made them feel valued. Improve one of these moments, and I promise you, you're going to see a ripple impact all the way across your firm, your retention, your referrals, your reputation, because your growth doesn't start with the big things. It starts with the intentional things. That's your challenge. Pick one touch point, make it unforgettable, and let's watch what happens. So, you want help building this unforgettable onboarding journey? I created something to make this very simple for you. The onboarding experience blueprint. It's a one-page roadmap that will walk you through everything we talked about today. How to design a repeatable, scalable, unforgettable client experience all the way from day 1 to day 365. Head out to my website, which is simply evolvewithgradient.com/ace team. Evolvewithgradient.com/ace team. And before you go, I just have one small request. If this episode gave you any value at all, if it sparked any ideas, if it challenged you, if it help you think differently about your practice, take a moment, like this episode, follow the show, share it with your team, especially your staff, your junior advisors, your client services team, because really they're the ones that's going to implement this. And sharing this episode with them is definitely going to be that shift that elevates the entire client experience for years to come. And I want to speak directly to you, the advisor listening right now. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for caring. Thank you for doing the work that most people never see, which is the late nights, the early mornings, the hard conversations, the planning, the coaching, the guidance. Thank you for serving the families in your communities with integrity, compassion, and leadership. 'Cause here's the thing, you're not just managing portfolios, you are protecting our future, you are calming fears, you are helping people to retire with dignity and confidence. And all of this matters deeply. And I know you don't hear it enough. Folks, this has been Unfiltered and Unstoppable. I'm Rob Romesburg. Stay intentional, stay committed, keep making a difference. I'll see you next time. Have an awesome day.